The vast emptiness of deep space seemed to hold its breath as the massive human fleet prepared for its most critical mission. Kim Jae-won stood on the bridge of the command ship, his eyes fixed on the holographic displays that mapped out centuries of hidden preparation. Humanity had been watching, waiting, and building. For generations, the alien consortium had believed they could manipulate and control human colonies, pushing them to the edges of habitable space. They were wrong. So terribly wrong. The fleet around J1 represented something more than just military might. It was the culmination of human determination, technological innovation, and an unbreakable spirit. 700,000 warships sat in perfect formation, each vessel a testament to human engineering and resolve. Years of subtle data gathering had revealed the complex network of alien oppression. They had thought humans were simple, primitive creatures easily controlled and manipulated. But beneath the surface, a different story was brewing. Human scientists, military strategists, and political leaders had been quietly building, planning, and waiting for the perfect moment. Jae-won remembered the stories his grandfather told him about the early days of space colonization. How humans were treated as second-class citizens in their own colonies, pushed around by alien bureaucrats and corporate interests. Those memories burned in the collective consciousness of humanity, fueling a quiet rage that had now transformed into a precise, calculated response. The quantum communication systems hummed with anticipation. Each ship was connected through an advanced neural network that allowed for instantaneous coordination. No alien technology could match the complexity and adaptability of this human-designed system. "Final systems check," Jae-won called out, his voice calm and steady. Around him, the bridge crew worked with machine-like precision. Years of training, simulation, and preparation had led to this moment. The alien consortium had no idea what was coming. Their intelligence networks, sophisticated as they were, had missed the most important detail: humans were not just survivors, they were innovators. Every technological limitation had been a challenge to overcome, every restriction a puzzle to solve. Massive reactors powered up across the fleet. Energy signatures that could power entire planetary systems were now concentrated in thousands of warships. Each vessel was a marvel of engineering, capable of performing tasks that would have seemed impossible just decades earlier. Jae-won thought about the families waiting back on Earth and in distant colonies. They knew what was at stake. This was not just a military operation, it was a statement. A declaration that humanity would no longer be pushed to the margins of galactic society. The first phase of the operation was simple yet brilliant. Instead of a direct assault, the fleet would simultaneously strike multiple critical infrastructure points across alien-controlled territories. Communication networks, strategic outposts, and key administrative centers would be disabled within moments of the initial attack. Tactical displays showed potential resistance points. But Jae-won and his team had already calculated precise counter-strategies for every possible scenario. The alien consortium's defensive structures were about to become obsolete. "Quantum drive alignment complete," reported a young officer, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. Jae-won nodded. This was more than a military operation. It was the moment humanity would redefine its place in the galaxy. No more negotiations, no more diplomatic compromises that always seemed to favor the alien powers. The fleet began to pulse with energy. Quantum drives prepared to jump across vast stretches of space, ready to appear simultaneously in locations that would cripple the alien infrastructure. Months of careful planning had led to this precise moment. "All systems confirmed," another officer called out. Kim Jae-won allowed himself a small smile. The alien consortium had made a fundamental mistake. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for unity, innovation, and strategic thinking. The stars outside seemed to pause, as if waiting for the inevitable. 700,000 warships, a force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, prepared to change everything. With a simple command, Jae-won would unleash a response that would reshape galactic politics forever. The moment the quantum drives activated, reality itself seemed to ripple. Park Hyren watched from Earth Central Command as 700,000 warships vanished from their staging areas, transforming into pure energy that would reappear across multiple galactic sectors. Alien communication networks collapsed instantly. The sudden appearance of massive human vessels overwhelmed their detection systems. Where there was once empty space, humanity now existed sudden, precise, and utterly unexpected. Each warship had been programmed with intricate jump coordinates, calculated down to the millisecond. No random movements, no chaotic deployment. This was a surgical strike engineered with mathematical precision that would make mathematicians weep with appreciation. The first wave targeted critical alien infrastructure. Communication relays exploded in silent bursts of electromagnetic destruction. Orbital stations designed to monitor distant sectors simply disintegrated. Defensive platforms, thought to be impenetrable, became nothing more than floating debris within seconds. Hiran's fingers danced across holographic interfaces, tracking every movement. The alien consortium's first response was confusion. Their established protocols, developed over thousands of years of galactic domination, were completely useless against this coordinated human assault. Quantum communication systems allowed instantaneous coordination between human ships. Where alien fleets would require minutes or hours to communicate, human vessels moved like a single, intelligent organism. Each ship knew its exact purpose, its precise location, and its strategic objective. Strategic analysts had spent decades preparing this moment. Every potential defensive strategy had been simulated, analyzed, and countered. The human fleet wasn't just attacking, they were systematically dismantling the alien power structure with surgical precision. Alien military commanders watched in horror as their most secure installations disappeared. Entire communication networks went dark. Defense systems that had protected their territories for centuries became instantly obsolete. The psychological impact was as significant as the military one. Humans were no longer the scattered, divided species the aliens remembered. They had transformed into a unified, technologically superior force that understood the art of warfare at a level never before seen. Some alien outposts attempted resistance. Defensive weapons fired, but human ships were already gone before the first laser could track them. It was like trying to swat a ghost, impossible, frustrating, terrifying. Hiran observed the real-time data streams. Casualty reports from human forces showed something unprecedented: minimal losses. Every movement, every attack had been calculated to minimize human risk while maximizing strategic damage. The quantum jump technology was revolutionary. Unlike traditional faster-than-light travel, these jumps left no traceable energy signature. Ships could appear, strike, and vanish before any meaningful defense could be mounted. Alien communication channels began to fill with panic. Urgent messages flew between command centers, but each transmission was already compromised. Human intelligence had broken their encryption protocols weeks before the attack. Strategic zones that had been considered impenetrable were now exposed. The alien consortium's carefully constructed power structure began to crumble from within. Their own communication network was now their greatest vulnerability. Within hours, the first phase of the human assault was complete. 700,000 warships had struck across multiple sectors, leaving behind a transformed galactic landscape. Where there was once alien dominance, there was now a clear message: humanity had arrived, and they would not be controlled. Hiran allowed herself a brief moment of satisfaction. Years of preparation, countless simulations, and unwavering strategic planning had led to this moment. The human fleet wasn't just attacking, they were rewriting the rules of galactic engagement. As data continued to stream across her screens, she knew this was just the beginning. The alien consortium would soon realize that this was more than a military operation. This was a complete recalibration of power dynamics that would reshape galactic civilization forever. The initial launch was complete. Humanity had announced its presence, and the galaxy would never be the same. The battlefield stretched across multiple star systems, a canvas painted with the cold precision of human military strategy. Lee Sungmin watched the tactical displays, his eyes reflecting the calculated movements of massive warships engaging alien defensive lines. Alien military commanders had believed their technologies were superior. They were wrong. Desperately, catastrophically wrong. Human warships moved like living entities, adapting to each defensive maneuver with impossible speed. Where alien ships followed rigid attack patterns, human vessels transformed their strategies in microseconds. Quantum computing allowed for decision-making that seemed almost supernatural. The first major confrontation occurred near the Orion cluster. Alien defense platforms, considered impenetrable for centuries, collapsed within minutes. Sophisticated energy shields designed to repel conventional attacks simply dissolved against human weaponry. Sungmin observed how each human ship communicated through advanced neural networks. No delay, no miscommunication. Every vessel knew its exact purpose, its precise role in the larger strategic framework. They moved like a single organism, intelligent and ruthless. Alien military leadership watched in growing horror. Their most advanced defensive systems became obsolete within hours. Human technological superiority was not just about weapons, but about intelligent, adaptive combat strategies that rewrote the fundamental rules of warfare. Precision strikes targeted critical infrastructure. Communication relays, defense coordination centers, and strategic command posts disappeared without warning. The alien consortium's communication networks began to fracture, then collapse entirely. Each human warship carried technologies that seemed to break known physical laws. Quantum entanglement systems allowed instant information transfer. Energy weapons could penetrate defenses that had stopped every previous galactic civilization. Psychological warfare became as important as physical combat. Human ships would appear, strike with surgical precision, and vanish before any meaningful counterattack could be mounted. The alien forces were being systematically demoralized. Defensive positions that had taken thousands of years to construct fell within days. Entire alien military sectors were dismantled not through brute force, but through intelligent, calculated strikes that exposed every weakness. Sungmin understood this was more than a military operation. This was a fundamental reset of galactic power dynamics. Humanity was not just fighting, they were fundamentally changing the rules of engagement. Alien commanders sent desperate communication signals, trying to coordinate a unified response. But human intelligence had already infiltrated and compromised their encryption protocols. Every message was monitored, every strategy anticipated. The most shocking element was human restraint. Despite having the capability to completely annihilate alien civilizations, the human fleet showed precise, calculated responses. Each strike was designed to disable, not destroy completely. Quantum jump capabilities allowed human warships to appear in multiple locations simultaneously. Where alien technologies required significant energy and time to reposition, human ships could transform their tactical positions in milliseconds. Battle reports showed something unprecedented: minimal human casualties. Every engagement was calculated to minimize risk while maximizing strategic advantage. The alien consortium was fighting an enemy that seemed to understand warfare at a level beyond traditional military thinking. Advanced sensor technologies allowed human ships to predict alien movements before they occurred. Defensive strategies were neutralized before they could be implemented. It was like fighting an opponent who could read minds and see the future. Communication intercepts revealed growing panic among alien military leadership. Their most secure systems were compromised, their defensive strategies were useless, and their understanding of warfare had become completely obsolete. Sungmin knew this was just the beginning. The confrontation was not about total destruction, but about establishing a new galactic order. Humanity was sending a clear message: they would no longer be controlled or manipulated. As tactical displays continued to update, the scale of human military capability became clear. 700,000 warships had transformed from a theoretical possibility to a terrifying reality that would reshape galactic civilization forever. The confrontation was changing everything. And the alien consortium was just beginning to understand the true meaning of technological superiority. The galactic conference chambers were silent, filled with a tension so thick it could be cut with a knife. Choyun-ji stood at the center, representing humanity's new diplomatic approach. The alien representatives looked broken, their once proud postures now crumpled and defeated. Humanity had done more than win a military victory. They had systematically dismantled an entire system of oppression that had existed for thousands of years. The transformation was not just about military might, but about fundamental change in galactic power structures. Diplomatic negotiations were unlike anything the alien consortium had experienced. Human representatives didn't seek total destruction or complete subjugation. Instead, they proposed a radical restructuring of galactic governance that would ensure fair representation for all civilizations. Communication technologies developed during the conflict now became tools of diplomacy. Every alien representative could see the detailed strategic analysis that had led to their defeat. There was no room for denial, no space for traditional political maneuvering. The human approach was calculated and precise. Economic systems that had exploited smaller civilizations for centuries were being completely redesigned. Trade routes, resource allocation, and interstellar communication would now follow principles of fairness and mutual respect. Alien civilizations that had previously been marginalized found themselves with unexpected allies. Humanity wasn't just conquering, they were rebuilding. Every strategic decision was made with long-term galactic stability in mind. Intelligence networks revealed the depth of human preparation. The military campaign was just one part of a much larger, more complex plan. Technology transfer programs, educational initiatives, and collaborative research projects were already being drafted. The most shocking element was human restraint. Despite having the capability to completely destroy entire alien civilizations, they chose reconstruction over revenge. Each conquered territory was immediately supported with infrastructure development and economic support. Unji understood this was about more than military victory. It was about proving that a different approach to galactic civilization was possible. The alien consortium had ruled through fear and manipulation. Humanity would rule through cooperation and mutual growth. Quantum communication systems allowed for unprecedented transparency. Every negotiation, every decision could be analyzed in real time by multiple civilizations. The days of secret diplomatic deals were over. Economic systems that had kept smaller civilizations in perpetual debt were systematically dismantled. New frameworks emerged that allowed for fair resource distribution and technological exchange. The playing field was being leveled in ways never before imagined. Some alien representatives tried to resist, but the evidence was overwhelming. Detailed records showed centuries of systematic oppression, economic manipulation, and cultural suppression. Humanity had not just defeated them militarily, they had exposed their fundamental moral failures. Educational exchange programs were already being designed. Young members of different civilizations would study together, share technologies, and build mutual understanding. The walls of separation that had existed for millennia were crumbling. The transformation wasn't just external. Internal human systems had also evolved. The military-driven approach had given way to a more nuanced, collaborative model of interstellar engagement. Unji watched as new galactic protocols were drafted. Each line represented a break from the old systems of control and manipulation. Representation would no longer be based on military might, but on the ability to contribute to collective growth. Communication technologies developed during the conflict now became bridges between civilizations. What was once a weapon of war transformed into a tool of understanding and cooperation. The alien consortium's power structure had been completely dismantled. But what replaced it was not a new form of control, but a framework of mutual respect and collaborative development. As the negotiations continued, it became clear that this was more than a military victory. This was a fundamental reimagining of how different civilizations could exist together. Humanity had not just conquered, they had offered a new vision of galactic civilization. The transformation was complete. And the galaxy would never be the same again. 10 years had passed since the massive human fleet transformed galactic politics. Kim Jae-won stood in the newly constructed Galactic Unified Council chambers, watching representatives from hundreds of civilizations interact in ways never before possible. The victory was about more than military conquest. Humanity had fundamentally redesigned how different species could coexist, communicate, and collaborate. Every technological breakthrough, every diplomatic strategy, had been carefully planned to create a more balanced universal ecosystem. Advanced quantum communication networks now connected civilizations that had been isolated for thousands of years. Small planetary cultures that were once marginalized now had direct representation. Information flowed freely, without the historical barriers of power and control. Economic systems had been completely restructured. Resource distribution was no longer controlled by a few dominant species. Instead, a transparent framework allowed for fair exchanges, technological sharing, and collaborative development. J1 remembered the early days of conflict. What began as a military operation had transformed into the most significant political reconstruction in galactic history. Humanity's approach was never about total domination, but about creating opportunities for collective growth. Educational exchange programs had become the most powerful tool of transformation. Young individuals from different civilizations studied together, shared technologies, and built understanding that transcended traditional cultural boundaries. Prejudices that had existed for millennia began to dissolve. The human technological approach was revolutionary. Instead of hoarding advanced technologies, they created open-source platforms that allowed multiple civilizations to contribute and benefit. Scientific research became a collaborative effort, not a competitive race. Diplomatic negotiations were now based on mutual respect and transparent communication. The old systems of secret deals and manipulative strategies had been completely dismantled. Every decision could be analyzed in real time by multiple civilizations. Choi Eun-ji, now a senior diplomatic strategist, had been instrumental in designing these new frameworks. Her team had created communication protocols that allowed for genuine understanding between species with dramatically different biological and cultural backgrounds. The most remarkable transformation was psychological. Civilizations that had been enemies for thousands of years now found themselves working together on joint research projects, environmental restoration initiatives, and technological development programs. Space exploration took on a new meaning. Instead of territorial expansion, it became a collaborative effort to understand the universe. Multiple civilizations pooled resources to develop technologies that could explore deeper into unknown regions of space. Environmental restoration became a universal priority. Technologies developed during the conflict were now used to heal planets, restore ecosystems, and create sustainable living environments across multiple star systems. The human approach was never about creating a new hierarchy. It was about dismantling existing power structures and creating a more balanced, collaborative framework. Every civilization was encouraged to contribute its unique perspectives and capabilities. Military technologies were gradually transformed into peaceful research tools. The advanced quantum computing systems developed during the conflict now powered medical research, environmental monitoring, and cross-species communication platforms. J1 observed the diverse representatives in the council chambers. Species that once would have been unable to even communicate now worked together on complex, multi-generational projects. The boundaries of possibility had been completely redrawn. The new galactic order was not perfect. Challenges remained, and old tensions sometimes resurfaced. But the fundamental framework had changed. Cooperation had replaced conflict, understanding had replaced fear. As the day's negotiations concluded, J1 allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had done more than win a war. They had offered a new vision of what was possible when different civilizations chose to work together. The stars outside the council chambers seemed to shine a little brighter. A new chapter in galactic history had begun, and humanity had been its architect. The transformation was complete. And the best was yet to come.